America's Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théâtres, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Va pleurer sous la pluie de novembre. Tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
Hashtag reflecting. That's what Karen McDougal posted on her social media account over the weekend. It's unclear if she was ever going to testify in the Manhattan District Attorney criminal trial, but based on this, it seems like an important hint that she will be testifying in the criminal trial against Donald Trump. You see there in this photograph, there's a glass of wine. Is it half empty or is it half full? You see as she's in the bathtub, she has a candle right there, and she also has in this photograph the book that she's reading, apparently, Catch and Kill by Ronan Farrow, which is a book he released in 2019, documenting the efforts of wealthy individuals like Harvey Weinstein and Donald Trump to try to catch and kill stories that are exposing their disgusting and despicable behavior. It seems that Karen McDougal is ready to testify, and all indications are that her testimony would be devastating against Donald Trump. We heard Karen McDougal's name over and over again thus far as we've completed 3 weeks of the criminal trial against Donald Trump. We heard her name, of course, through the testimony of David Pecker, the former head of AMI, which owned National Enquirer. The first catch and kill payment was made to Karen McDougal, who Donald Trump had a long-term affair with while Melania was pregnant, to try and silence her. Also, when she started speaking out in 2018 or so about Donald Trump, the testimony from David Pecker and others was that Donald Trump was absolutely livid about that and thought that the non-disclosure agreements would preclude her for telling her truth, from telling her story. Of course, we also heard about Karen McDougal through the testimony of her lawyer, Keith Davidson, who testified about the deal, how it was arranged with AMI or the National Enquirer or on Donald Trump's behalf. I think it is very interesting that Catch and Kill is the book that she has right there in the photograph. She's definitely sending a message with this photograph. There's no doubt about that. This is how Catch and Kill, the book, has been described in this instant New York Times bestselling account of violence and espionage. Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter Ronan Farrow exposes serial abusers and a cabal of powerful interests hell-bent on covering up the truth at any cost. That's a description of the book right there. Here's what Donald Trump has been posting over the weekend. No doubt he is getting the message that trial is not going good for him, and that the testimony by people like Karen McDougal could absolutely bury him. And as I mentioned at the outset of this video, it was not fully clear if McDougal was or wasn't going to testify. There are people who have been telling me, is her testimony actually critical here to prove any kind of critical fact itself in this case, given that David Pecker did such a good job setting forth the testimony of everything that happened with the payment. But because Donald Trump has just repeatedly lied and said that he knows nothing about her, that all of these women are lying, I think having her testify about the relationship will not only kind of further show what a liar Donald Trump is, but I think it also lends credibility to some of the other fact witnesses when they testify later in the trial, like Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, that there are so many people who are corroborating each other's story, and the one commonality is that Donald Trump is the one trying to cover things up and is consistently lying. Here's the types of things that Donald Trump's posting. He posts this from Hugh Hewitt. The show trial of Donald Trump, the railroading of the former president is in plain sight. The 14th Amendment, because of its guarantee that, quote, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, binds the courts of New York to the requirement of due process of laws, first stated in the Fifth Amendment. I mean, Hugh Hewitt ostensibly is supposed to be someone he's like a smart guy, I thought. I mean, he knows that this must be the most foolish argument he could possibly make. Donald Trump does have due process, and the due process is he has a jury of his peers that his lawyers were involved in selecting. He has competent counsel. He can invoke his Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. He doesn't have to testify. He also has a constitutional right to testify. Donald Trump is also posting from Hans von Spakovsky, kind of sounds like von, his pants, as our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, goes, I can't believe Justice Merchan is not going to listen to Hans von Spakovsky. This is what Trump goes. Hans von Spakovsky said, quote, Trump's New York prosecution is a bogus case by a bogus prosecutor. Neither the FEC nor Justice Department ever filed an enforcement action against the Trump campaign or Trump personally over the payment. I just simply don't think that the things that they are saying bear no relation to the actual facts of this case at all. But again, as I was going to say, I don't think that anyone in MAGA has any clue at all what's happening based on all of the right-wing distortion and disinformation out there. Sorry, back to Karen McDougal for a second. Rowan and Farrow interviewed McDougal for an article, I think it was back in 2018, before he ever even published the Catch and Kill book, so he knows Big McDougal well. This is how it was reported in February of 2018 by CBS in the interview that they did with Ronan Farrow on why Karen McDougal spoke out on her affair with Donald Trump. I want you to watch this. This is why she's going to make such a powerful witness, and again, why I think it's going to be so devastating to Donald Trump. If you wonder kind of which way she may go on this, what's she going to testify, I think that picture says 1,000 words right there. But play this clip.
Karen McDougal in this written document stresses that her relationship with Donald Trump was entirely consensual. But her story reveals commonalities with story after story that has now emerged about Donald Trump's either consensual relationships with women or alleged non-consensual advances.
McDougal sold the rights to her story to the publisher of the National Enquirer, barring her from discussing the details of her relationship with Trump. The story never ran. The former Playboy model told New Yorker reporter Ronan Farrow that the Me Too movement emboldened her to come forward with her story, despite fears of legal retaliation.
She acknowledges that this is a different kind of case, but it has the commonality of powerful men using elaborate systems to silence women and stories those women might tell about them. And she said that she didn't want to be silent anymore and that she hoped her speaking about this system that ensnared her might encourage other women to step forward.
The New Yorker report comes days after Trump lawyer Michael Cohen admitted to paying off Stormy Daniels, an adult film star who also once claimed to have had an affair with Trump in 2006. The payment has raised questions with the Federal Election Commission, as it could be in violation of campaign finance laws.
A White House official refused to go on the record, but called McDougal's story, quote, fake news.
And here are some photos of Karen McDougal. You see her right here. She would take photos with Ivanka and Melania and Donald at the same time, like while she was involved with Donald. Here's another photo of them together. Here she's with Anderson Cooper, and we heard about this in testimony from David Pecker and from Davidson. We heard about this exact moment with Anderson Cooper back in 2018. Here, play this clip.
You said you had sex that first time. All these times you saw him, this was an ongoing sexual relationship.
Absolutely.
Can you estimate how many times you actually saw him?
I can tell you we saw each other a minimum 5 times a month, up to bigger numbers per month. So
Over the course of how long?
So we were together 10 months before I chose to end it. So we saw each other quite frequently.
So dozens of times you were together.
Many dozens of times,
And you were intimate.
Yes.
Many dozens of times. Did he ever use protection?
No, I didn't.
Was that something you thought about, or it didn't concern you at the time?
We talked about it right beforehand. He was starting to, and then he's like, I don't like these things, and we discussed things. Do you, blah blah blah. And we were just honest with each other, and we didn't use any.
Yeah, and Adam Klasfeld, who's been doing a great job reporting in the courtroom, says, according to David Pecker, Trump got angry after seeing Anderson Cooper interviewing Karen McDougal. Trump said that he thought there was an agreement forbidding her from speaking to the press. Pecker replied to Donald Trump, yes, we have an agreement, but I amended it to allow her to speak to the press. Pecker says Trump got mad and couldn't understand why Pecker amended the agreement. At some point, the FEC contacted Pecker about his activities with AMI. Pecker said that Michael Cohen tried to reassure him. Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General and Donald Trump has him in his pocket, but Pecker wasn't reassured. I am very worried, he said. And let me show you this clip right here. You heard it the last one that I played you on the CBS clip where Donald Trump's team would say, oh, that's fake news. Karen McDougal's story is a lie. It's fake news. Here's what Donald Trump was saying during the 2016 campaign as well. Play this clip. The jury saw this as well. Play it.
As you have seen, right now I am being viciously attacked with lies and smears. It's a phony deal. I have no idea who these women are. Have no idea. I have no idea. And I think you all know I have no idea because you understand me for a lot of years. Okay? When you looked at that horrible woman last night, you said, I don't think so. I don't think so. Whoever she is, wherever she comes from, the stories are total fiction. They're 100% made up. They never happened. They never would happen. I don't think that happened with very many people, but they certainly aren't going to happen with me.
And then finally, the jury heard this testimony from Hope Hicks as direct examination concluded. Question: did Donald Trump say anything about the timing of the news reporting regarding Stormy Daniels and McDougal and others? Answer: oh, yes. He wanted to know how it was playing and just my thoughts and opinion about this story versus having the story, a different kind of story before the campaign, had Michael Cohen not made that payment. And I think Mr. Trump's opinion was it was better to be dealing with it now and that it would have been bad to have that story come out before the election. Question. Thank you. No further questions. So Karen McDougal seemingly indicating she will be testifying. I think that's what it means.
It is Monday, the 6th of May of 2024, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner the English Bulldog is our snoozing sous chef, Precious the little Yorkie as our door girl, and she has healed remarkably, and we'll be seating you directly for our especially special daily special, River City Hash Mondays, and we made it through the weekend. Yes, we did. Sorta. Well, here we are. I'm still in that cycle of, well, as I mentioned on social media at some point, everything's a jumble this past week, so excuse me. But I have such muscle memory over 9+ years of caring intimately for my mother that, times of the day come up and, I'm ready to do that thing. And every now and then I have to catch myself in mid-step while doing that thing. And part of doing that thing is, the whole structure of this show was structured around caring for my mom. Time of day, when I would do research, when I would do pre-production and post-production. And then, keeping an ear out so that if I need to get out the door across the hallway quickly, that can be done within the structure of the show. How about that? So there's so many reminders, mentally and physically, that a lot of re-engineering to do on that muscle memory. Boy. Anyway, we visited her earthly body for the last time on Friday. And I don't know. I'm just still in the sadness part. As you all well know, who have ever gone through this process. Losing a parent. Inevitable, isn't it? Isn't that the nature of things? But that knowledge doesn't make it any less sad, does it? No, I guess. Resignation? I don't know. Edna St. Vincent Millay, she would not resign herself to the passing of her friends and family. She didn't want them to be rose food. She wanted the loveliness of their eyes than all the roses in the world. But oh well. Anyway, I guess how you make that person live on, is to honor their memory and live a good life and do it. So I know all of the practices, and putting them into practice is not a difficult process. But I'm still incredibly sad. Okay, I know that maybe you don't want to hear all of that because we do have a curated show for you, but boy, what the hell is happening across the continent and across and around the world? If I had some sort of conspiratorial nature, it would seem like there's a lot of right-wing collusion going on all over the place. And it seems to be, now I'm not going to blame just Vlad for any of this, because Xi has a lot to do with it, and so does Kim Jong-un. Yeah. Kristi Noem sat down with Kim Jong-un. Give me a break. All right. I think she went to a Korean restaurant or cafe with Corey in the Bronx. A little getaway. And you know how she is. Yeah, that guy looks like the leader of Korea. And Corey said, it is. He's in hiding. He's here. And maybe Kristi believed it. I wouldn't put it past her. Anyway, I think that guy has something to do with it. There's a lot of bad actors out there. Let us not forget Hamas. They're all sitting around in penthouses in Qatar. Do you think that they are without technical resources to mess with minds? Look what they've done already. I mean, I'm just talking to their own people. I'm not talking about any kind of influence over here. Spontaneous Hamas-loving protests. It's all right to protest. I don't know. I really don't remember back in 1968 when I keep hearing that these protests are so reminiscent of what happened in 1968. I don't remember the North Vietnamese having their leadership in high-rises in Indonesia conducting psyops on us. We're going to get those college kids to go and protest. Did they talk like that? I don't know. So I'm just saying. I don't really remember, though. It's possible. A Steve Bannon type character messing around. On the other hand, you had Richard Nixon messing up the 1968 Paris Peace Accords. Yep. And I got to say, the riot in Chicago didn't really help our cause that much, did it? I know it was the cops that rioted. But provoke a cop, and they only need a little excuse to crack a head. Just a little. So a lot of, confluence of actions came to a head. And in the midst of that, I still don't remember the North Vietnamese having their leadership in a high-rise or high-rises in Indonesia, like Hamas has their leadership in high-rises in Qatar, actively participating in PSYOPs operations, calling anything that has to do with anything against them as genocide. They're trying to get rid of us. You damn right. And I don't mean a final solution, get rid of you either. If Bibi Netanyahu and his thugs are saying that, has nothing to do with us. We tried to get, when I say we, I mean those of us of a more elevated sense of what it means to get along, had actually dealt with Bibi Netanyahu, and he wheedled his way back in, and look where we are. So, I'll remind folks once again, too, I called it AstroTurf on October 9th, when the G word was first floated. Where did that come from? Call those who are your enemies that which you are. It's an old tactic. Happened even before the Nazis came on the scene, but boy did they embrace it. It's a creed. It is a motto. And they live by it. So you got, what's his face, Donnie Trump? What kind of nickname do we call this guy? I don't know. Poopy Pants. Anyway, you got him saying that Joe Biden is the Gestapo. What the hell? There's only one guy who's militarized the government for their benefit. Well, a couple. You got to count Nixon, too. But, of course, we had laid down laws and any other number of rules in which that would not happen again. And guess who circumvented all of it? The bad actors from exactly that time, who've been working all this time to get back. The Roger Stones, the old rat fuckers are, back again. We're going to get the old rat fucker band back together. And they have. They never broke up. All right. Let us not forget that Steve Bannon is walking around free while he was colluding with a rich Chinese tycoon to F up America. Okay. They declared war on us. In my book, any help, succor, collusion, etc. that you do with those who have declared war on us makes you know what. All right, but I guess I'm just romantic. Those guys get pardoned. All right, talk about cancel culture. Jeez. I'm telling you, we're not very far from, the helicopters dropping dissidents out, around 10,000 feet. Can a helicopter go that high? Hella high. If not over shark-infested waters, then just in the middle of the desert. Who cares? As they would say. We're this close to it. Oh, boy. Okay. One bad sign I noticed is that I've been noticing a lot of the old, what I call the usual suspects, the ones that have their MAGA signs and banners and stuff all over their homes. They are actively, openly carrying in a much more, shall we say, openly carrying fashion. Can't go put out the garbage without strapping on the firepower. Give me a break. All right. So dare I say something? I mean, these are the types that are just going to go off. As we would say often. The guy with the gun is who determines what polite conversation is. And when everybody's got a gun, I guess everybody's got an idea what polite conversation is. Okay. I refuse not to have a gun, and I refuse to have any kind of conversations with a bunch of idiots like that. But I am prepared. Yep. All right. Well, I don't mean in any militarized way, but I'm just prepared. We all got to be. And part of that preparation is making sure we vote. We have an election coming up on the 21st. These down ballot races are, if not the most important, very important in the whole scheme of what we call our democracy. So go out and do that. That's right. Okay. No wonder they don't want people mailing in their votes, because you can't intimidate somebody who does that at the polls. I love that they don't want to count any votes after midnight on election day. What the hell? We don't want to. If they count the votes, it'll be against us, and that's cheating. Counting the votes is cheating. These people, and I mean that in every derision that you can imagine when you hear these people. Okay. What do we have in store for you in this curated part? Didn't I mention that before? Where did I go? Okay, let's tell you what is in the curated part of the show here as we begin in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Well, of course, Karen McDougal, you know all about her. She's got some plans. She's been drinking some wine, sitting in the tub, and, reading Ronan Farrow's book. Good for her. On the rest of the menu, the Justice Department warned it plans to sue Iowa over a new state immigration law. Good. Boeing locked out its private firefighters around Seattle over a pay dispute, and they brought in scabs. So, they're still protected. Do you think? Maybe not. And a federal lawsuit against Meta asks if Facebook users have the right to control their feeds using external tools. After the break, we move to the chef's table, where a candidate for Germany's key party was beaten up by right-wing thugs while campaigning for the upcoming European elections. And the German foreign minister says Russia will face consequences for its months-long cyber espionage campaign. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com. To the right of the page is the chat room link, monitored by Kelly Lincoln. Thank you, Kelly. Across the page to the left from that chat room link is the link to our Patreon page, and please do become a recurring Patreon of Netroots Radio. It really does help us pay our bills and all the other sundry costs involved in running this powerhouse of resistance. If you could afford to send us what you might spend on an espresso-type coffee drink once a month, that is a big help, and thank you to those of you who have done so for these many years. The costs keep going up, and your help has really helped, so thank you so much. If you would like to follow Netroots Radio on the social medias, you can do so at Netroots Radio in most cases, otherwise just Netroots Radio. Tom takes care of those for the most part. Thank you, Tom. Follow me on those social medias also at Justice Putnam in most cases, otherwise only Justice Putnam. And I post the show notes and links diaries on Daily Kos 10 minutes before showtime. And if you follow those social media feeds, you'd have quick access to those Daily Kos diaries. I'll get it out. And there you will find the links to the actual articles written by the actual reporters. So do it. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Cookbook West End. Pick up podcasts by way of a Spreaker, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, Audible, and wherever podcasts can be found. Everywhere. All right, this first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy on this fine River City Hash Mondays is out of the Associated Press by Hannah Fingerhut. The U.S. Department of Justice has told Iowa's top officials it plans to sue the state over a new law making it a crime for a person to be in Iowa if they've previously been denied admission to the U.S. The statute interferes with the federal government's authority to enforce immigration law, according to the DOJ, which already sued Texas to block a similar measure. The DOJ informed Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds and State Attorney General Brenna Byrd that it intends to sue unless the state agrees by May 7th not to enforce the law. Byrd indicated on Friday that the state is unlikely to agree to the federal terms. Iowa will not back down and stand by as I say state safety hangs in the balance, she said in a statement. In a really weird accent, but that's just the way it goes. It's Monday. The similar Texas law is on hold due to the Justice Department's court challenge. Legal experts and some law enforcement officials have said the Iowa law poses the same questions raised in the Texas case because enforcing immigration law has historically fallen to federal authorities. How about constitutionally? But that's just me. The Iowa law violates the U.S. Constitution because it effectively creates a separate state immigration scheme, the Justice Department said in its letter. The law, which goes into effect on July 1st, would allow criminal charges to be brought against people who have outstanding deportation orders or who previously have been removed from or denied admission to the U.S. Once in custody, migrants could either agree to the judge's order to leave the U.S. or be prosecuted. The law has elevated anxiety in Iowa's immigrant communities, leading to protests in Des Moines and other cities on Wednesday. Republicans across the country have accused President Joe Biden of neglecting his duty to enforce federal immigration law. Really? Of course they are. Because they vote against every measure, every funding bill, anything that has to do with immigration that the Biden administration has proposed. Why? We're looking at it right now. Alexa Viega of the Associated Press brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Boeing has locked out its private force of firefighters who protect its aircraft manufacturing plants in the Seattle area and brought in replacements after the latest round of negotiations with the firefighters union failed to deliver an agreement on wages. The company said that it locked out about 125 firefighters over the weekend and a facility about 170 miles away in central Washington. The firefighters serve as first responders to fires and medical emergencies and can call in help from local fire departments when needed. In a statement, the International Association of Firefighters Union said Boeing's lockout is intended to punish, intimidate, and coerce its firefighters into accepting a contract that undervalues their work. Boeing stressed that the lockout will have no impact on its operations. The labor dispute comes as Boeing navigates mounting losses, more than $24 billion since the start of 2019, and renewed scrutiny over quality and safety in its manufacturing since a door plug blew out of an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX flying over Oregon in January. Right around the time they started kicking out the engineers from leadership and brought in the pencil pushers. Boeing and the union remain far apart in the negotiations, which have been going on for 2.5 months. Each side accuses the other of bad faith negotiating. The company, which is headquartered in Arlington, Virginia, said that its latest offer includes general annual wage increases and a new compensation structure for firefighters on a 24-hour shift schedule that would result in an average wage increase of about $21,000 a year. Boeing says firefighters were paid $91,000 on average last year. The union, which argues Boeing has saved billions in insurance costs by employing its own on-site firefighters, has said it is seeking raises of 40 to 50%. Boeing's proposed pay increase would still leave crews earning 20 to 30% less than firefighters in the cities where Boeing's plants are located, the union said. A major sticking point is Boeing's demand to make firefighters wait 19 years to hit top pay scale, up from 14 years. The union is proposing 5. Barbara Ortute of the Associated Press brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, River City Hash Mondays. Do social media users have the right to control what they see or don't see on their feeds? A lawsuit filed against Facebook parent Meta Platforms, Inc. is arguing that a federal law often used to shield internet companies from liability also allows people to use external tools to take control of their feed, even if that means shutting it off entirely. The Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University filed a lawsuit against Meta Platforms on behalf of an Amherst professor who wants to release a tool that enables users to unfollow all the content fed to them by Facebook's algorithm. The tool, called Unfollow Everything 2.0, is a browser extension that would let Facebook users unfollow friends, groups, and pages and empty their news feed. The stream of posts, photos, and videos that keep them scrolling endlessly. The idea is that without this constant, addicting stream of content, people might use it less. If the past is any indication, Meta will not be keen on the idea. A UK developer, Louis Barclay, released a similar tool called Unfollow Everything, but he took it down in 2021, fearing a lawsuit after receiving a cease and desist letter and a lifetime Facebook ban from Meta, then called Facebook Inc. With the lawsuit, Ethan Zuckerman, a professor at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, is trying to beat Meta to the legal punch to avoid getting sued by the social media giant over the browser extension. The reason it is worth challenging Facebook on this is that right now we have very little control as users over how we use these networks, Zuckerman said in an interview. We basically get what controls Facebook wants. And that's actually pretty different from how the internet has worked historically. Just think of email, which lets people use different email clients or different web browsers or anti-tracking software for people who don't want to be tracked. Meta declined to comment. Why would they? The lawsuit, filed in federal court in California, centers on a provision of Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act, which is often used to protect internet companies from liability for things posted on their sites. A separate clause, though, provides immunity to software developers who create tools that filter, screen, allow, or disallow content that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. The lawsuit, in other words, asks the court to determine whether Facebook users' news feed falls into the category of objectionable material that they should be able to filter out in order to enjoy the platform. Well, we'll see how that shakes out. Let us now go to our break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we've curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. We will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. This week, The Real Challenge. Challengers. Tennis is Relationships is Tennis. Written by Justin Kuritzkits, directed by Luca Guadagnino, and starring Zendaya. Go see it for a number of reasons. First, it's smartly shot. Like a tennis match, there are not a lot of close-ups, unlike many films I've seen recently, and it's nice to be reminded of what you can do when you stay back. Your few close-ups can really land, and also, in wide shots and long shots, your compositions can be more complex. Second, the movie's got this look. The colors are so vibrant. Watch who wears what clothes when. And the film is so uniformly lit. Even in night scenes, this is not a film of shadows, and I think this lighting keeps the movie from being what the marketing would have you think it is. It's not 90s erotic thriller, it's not neo-noir where Zendaya's character Lee is some cold sex witch manipulating these two guys, and thank goodness, avoiding that trope is one of the many ways this movie finds to be strong. That said, Challengers brings up the tragic truth that great actors need great parts, and Zendaya, it's painful because anyone should be able to see that she's poised to be a great movie star. She dominates the screen in every scene she's in. If she's not legendary by the time she's 50, that will be the fault of the movie business and not her, because there are so few good parts and fewer great parts and fewer of both for women. Lee is a good movie part, better than being Paul Atreides' girlfriend, definitely better than being Peter Parker's girlfriend, and Zendaya wants this part. She has co-produced the movie to have this part, and yet, when all is said and done, Lee's role is to be these two guys' girlfriend. This movie doesn't care as much about what she wants, what she gets, what she learns, or what she should have learned, as much as it cares about what she's done to the movie's men. The core image of Challengers is Lee sitting on the sidelines while these two guys, in a tennis match, work out their past and present, their anger and their desires. Again, it's all nicely done, but I just want more for Zendaya. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. Catch up with us at take2moviereview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Tom Hartman, and since you're listening to netrootsradio.com, show your progressive side and go to the donate button on the bottom of the homepage. It's progressives like you who power Netroots Radio and keep the progressive message beaming everywhere 24 hours a day. Just go to our donate button at the bottom of netrootsradio.com. Thank you for keeping progressive radio at full power.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Louisiana's voting age population is 30% black, yet a 2022 congressional district map drew only one of 6 congressional districts as majority African American. A court-ordered 2024 map fixed that, but another appeals court just threw it out. A district court found the 2022 congressional map intentionally diluted black voting power. Last November, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals agreed, and the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear the case. A federal judge ordered a new map to be drawn by the legislature, or the court would do it. Governor Jeff Landry called the Louisiana legislature into session in January 2024, creating a new, fairer map, including a second majority-minority district. But a group of non-black voters asked the same Fifth Circuit to rehear the case, which, in a 2-1 decision, threw out the fairer maps on April 30th. The group argued that the majority-minority district was not geographically compact or reasonably configured. The decision fits a pattern of cases designed to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, where Justices Gorsuch, Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh appear skeptical of continuing Voting Rights Act protections of minority voters under Section 2. A SCOTUS decision in a South Carolina case determining whether racial gerrymandering can be cloaked as partisan gerrymandering is expected shortly. We have a link to the Louisiana opinion and the groups taking action at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1935. That was the day President Franklin Delano Roosevelt issued Executive Order 7034, establishing the Works Progress Administration. The WPA employed millions in public works projects during the Great Depression. As many as 8.5 million Americans worked for the WPA at some point between the years 1935 and 1943. At its height, over 3 million Americans were working WPA jobs. These jobs included the construction of roads, bridges, utilities, and parks. It also meant the construction of new schools, libraries, public buildings, and housing. Many WPA jobs also employed musicians, artists, and writers in literature and art projects. The program's goals were to provide one job to every household suffering long-term unemployment. Some of the most famous projects included LaGuardia Airport in New York City, Blue Ridge Parkway, and the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. Artists like Jacob Lawrence and Mark Rothko were employed at the Federal Arts Project. Historian Eric Loomis notes that the Federal Writers Project began the field of oral histories with extensive interviews of surviving ex-slaves. The WPA also bolstered federal funding for school lunches. The program was initially criticized for underemployment of African Americans who suffered disproportionately during the Depression. But many black leaders later hailed the WPA as providing job opportunities to blacks and keeping race discrimination to a minimum, at least in the North. The right attacked the program as a hotbed for communists and a scheme to build Democratic Party patronage. By 1940, WPA projects shifted towards war preparation and defense-related projects. When the country reached full employment in 1942, the WPA ceased to exist by July of 1943.
you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, River City Hash Mondays. We always begin weather from around the world along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 48 degrees Fahrenheit, expecting highs of only around 56, which is nearly the same as yesterday. Cloudy with showers during the day, winds out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and we will be having measurable rain, but something less than a quarter inch. Mainly cloudy overnight with lows near 40, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then mostly cloudy skies early. Tomorrow will become partly cloudy later in the day. Highs in the low 60s, winds out of the north at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then we see a steady warming trend reaching to the mid-80s by this weekend. So we'll see if we'll get any more rain in the days to come. We may. Looks like grass pollen is rated very high here in Rogue River proper. The air quality index for the region is in the good range at 20 parts per million. And that daytime UV index is very high at level 8, so do take care. Barometric pressure is falling at 30.08 inches. Visibility is up to 9 miles. And relative humidity is at 87%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world, and that is the Weather Underground. London is 58 degrees with light rain. And they have a thunderstorm advisory, so take care if you're in London. Looks like Paris is 68 and partly cloudy, also with a thunderstorm advisory. And Rome also has a thunderstorm advisory at 72 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny. Kabul is 62 and clear. Hong Kong is 75 and mostly cloudy. Tokyo is 70 degrees and mostly cloudy. Melbourne, Victoria, Australia is 50 degrees and partly cloudy. San Francisco, California is 53 and sunny. Chicago, Illinois is 59 and partly cloudy. And New York is 61 degrees Fahrenheit, cloudy with a dense fog advisory. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. Stephen Graham at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, River City Hash Mondays. A candidate for Chancellor Olaf Scholz's center-left party in next month's election for the European Parliament was beaten up and seriously injured while campaigning in an eastern city, the party said over the weekend. The incident raised political tension in Germany ahead of the polls and came as Europe's center-left urged the center-right not to cooperate with far-right parties expected to win more seats in the European Parliament. Matthias Eck, a candidate for the Social Democrats, was attacked while putting up posters in Dresden on Friday evening. The party said he was taken to a hospital and required surgery for his injuries. Police said the 41-year-old was beaten by 4 men and that the same group had attacked a Greens Party worker minutes before in the same street. Interior Minister Nancy Faeser, who is also a Social Democrat, said that if it is proven that the assault on Eck was politically motivated, it would represent a serious attack on democracy. We are experiencing a new dimension of anti-democratic violence, Faeser said. She promised tougher action and further protective measures for the democratic forces in our country. Government and opposition parties say their members and supporters have faced a wave of physical and verbal attacks in recent months and have called police to step up protection for politicians and election rallies. Many of the incidents have taken place in the former communist east of the country, where Schulz's government is deeply unpopular. The Interior Ministry in the state of Saxony, which includes Dresden, said it had registered 112 election-related crimes so far this year, including 30 against elected officials or representatives. The far-right and anti-establishment Alternative for Germany Party, or AfD, is expected to make big gains, especially in the East, in both the European elections and in German state elections later this fall. Staff at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Germany accused Russian military agents of hacking the top echelons of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's party and other sensitive government and industrial targets, and was joined by NATO and fellow European countries in warning that Russia's cyber espionage would have consequences. Relations between Russia and Germany were already tense, with Germany providing military support to Ukraine in its ongoing war with Russia. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said Russian military cyber operators were behind the hacking of emails of the Social Democrats, the leading party in the governing coalition. Officials said they did so by exploiting Microsoft Outlook. Officials described a hacking campaign that has persisted for months. The German Interior Ministry said in a statement that the hacking campaign began at least as early as March of 2022, a month after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, with emails at Social Democrat Party headquarters accessed beginning that December. It said German companies, including in the defense and aerospace sectors, as well as targets related to the war, were also a focus. The statement said international efforts by the FBI to shut down in late January a botnet of compromised network devices used by the Russian hackers known as APTF-28 or Fancy Bear in the espionage scheme. A separate German statement said the hacking occurred over a relatively long period and also targeted various unidentified German government authorities, foundations, and associations. It said the Social Democrats' Executive Committee was also targeted. I told you, they've declared war on us. What are we going to do about it? Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day, but you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we will meet up here tomorrow for Tarrytown Chowder Tuesdays. So do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day and all night for all the breaking news as it breaks, and we will meet up here tomorrow, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goère. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair, t'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. De novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver.